Awesome. It's so great. Stephen, thank you so much for coming on today to just chat about our experience together on the sale of your condo
Yeah,
in San
absolutely.
Francisco. Yeah, appreciate it. And you're zooming in today from your new location of Sacramento, California.
Yep.
How,
Yeah.
how are you enjoying it there?
It's good. I mean, we traded in our 2 bedroom apartment for a 4 bedroom house with yard and garage. So money goes a little bit further over here.
That's
Of course.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
and it's
awesome.
nice because we have a 7-month-old daughter, so we needed a little bit more space to hold all of the baby related things, and of course the baby.
And the baby, and she is a little heartbreaker too.
Oh yeah.
So she's so I should nearly share the screen and show that latest picture you sent. She's so
Hmm.
cute. So one of the things that we're kind of talking about here was we're doing a very unique kind of thing. You guys owned a TIC and you went through condo conversion, and right at the point of condo conversion you kind of have to do a refi because it's different type of property and that kind of stuff. And it's if you're not going to be in the property, because you guys at that point had already you'd wrapped up, and right at the point it was converting, you were like, hey, baby's coming, we're gonna Sacramento.
Hmm.
And so it's a good time to sell because you don't have to pay, because if you refi you pay all the fees to refi. So it is a good moment to do that right at the crossroads.
Yep.
And what would you say about, because a lot of it was we've known each other for a long time, you called me up and you were like, hey, we've moved out, can you get things sorted out here and get the place on the market? How
Yeah.
was that experience?
Pretty much. It was really easy. Because I mean, for one thing, everyone was already used to pandemic life, so the whole like Zoom and everything was already pretty well established. But more than anything, it was just Eddie was like, put the key in the mail, and I'll take care of the rest.
And
And that's how it went.
and it was, you had a great place too. So we had a little bit of stuff. We had some painting to do,
Hmm.
and mostly painting. We didn't really have much else to do.
Yeah,
I
you
think
you lined up a
uh,
guy for the floors too.
the fruit, we buffed the floors, we
Yep.
did that, and then we got all the staging in and
Yep.
all of that good stuff. And
Yep.
then we went through the marketing process, and it was
Hmm.
a wonderful experience, and we had multiple offers, and everything went very well there. And then, is there any part of that experience, was all that was good? Anything that sticks out, or
Yeah.
you remember from that?
So I remember that when we saw the pictures, we thought everything looked really great. And then in November, like a couple weeks after the property had, after we were under contract, we went to clean out some of our stuff, and we were really hoping to see it all staged, and it was all empty. But nonetheless,
We'd already
yeah,
moved the staging.
yeah,
Yeah, because that was right. You came down from Sacramento to get some stuff from the storage
yeah.
space and stuff, right?
So it was really
Yeah.
funny to go from like leaving the apartment completely empty to seeing the pictures and then coming back and finding it empty again.
And
it
then
was like it was like a
like,
dream or something.
it didn't really happen. Didn't
Yeah.
really happen. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
the
then
video that you guys did was really cool for that as well. I thought with the drone footage and all that, like that was pretty neat.
yeah, it was pretty, and just it really kind of gave the essence of the place, and in a
Hmm.
very short kind of segment and stuff, which is great. And we use that on so many different channels.
Hmm.
It's awesome. And then, so this was did there were some challenges with the selling at the point of it being from converting from a TIC to a condo. And it is a point where other people are kind of thinking about doing the same. But I think for our scenario, COVID really had a lot to kind of do with it, right?
Yeah,
So do you
yeah.
want to speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, I would say overall, like COVID really impacted the timeline for our conversion because we had done kind of the building inspection the summer before, and it took a while for us to kind of figure out some of the kind of stranger things that we had to correct. Like the windows at the front of the house had been like replaced without a permit, so they were not conforming to. I don't remember what it called, but they basically were missing this tiny little decorative piece. And so finding a person who was able to manufacture and install those just took us months. And by the time we had sort of lined up some of those contractors, like lockdown happened. And so that kind of pushed out the time until they were able to do the work, which meant that we weren't able to actually get sign off from building department until almost a year after the inspection had occurred. So that's a thing. So that was kind of where it started. And then after that, it was just all of the city processes were super slow. And that last couple months, or like those last hurdles that you have to cross, there's just a lot of touch points. And so every one of those
we learned a lot. We learned a lot about the city process and the city system. And I do have to say, COVID did have quite an effect, because we had done one earlier, pre-COVID, just a few months before COVID, and the time frames, we were thinking in those time frames, and that's the way I was thinking anyway. And then suddenly we got into COVID, and it was like, oh no, those time frames, because everybody was working from home. You couldn't go into the city offices. There was nobody. It was a different experience. But we got through it, which was great. And we got to the end, and it all went. So would you, for anybody who's thinking about doing the same thing, what would you say? Anything that happened that you didn't realize or didn't think about, that you're like, hey, this would be a good thing to think about?
I would say, first off, like, just like plan more time for it than you really think. Like even if things were going well, it's a very long process, with lots of points for things to go off the rails for a while. Like as mentioned, that it took us so long to find the contractors for like the weird stuff that we needed to correct. Or like, I think another good example from that phase was DVI told us that the unpermitted roof deck we had was unpermitted and needed to be corrected, but they wouldn't actually tell us what was required to be corrected. So all they were willing to say was, you got to fix it, but they wouldn't tell us how or in which ways it was like violating code. And so
how did you figure that out? Like, how do you interpret? Like, did you end up getting a contractor or somebody who can interpret the way that kind of speak?
Well, I think what we ended up doing was we got in touch with a couple of architects to see, because like there were some people that thought it was an egress issue, like whether we had proper secondary egress, and some people said yes and some people said no, and there were other people who thought it was a structural issue in the way that the deck was actually attached to the roof. And I don't remember who it was, but our kind of like most reliable person who we felt knew what they were talking about said that it was about the structure, making sure that the building was certified to hold the extra weight on the roof. So that's when we tried to get in touch with architects and such. And eventually, I think we just got to a point where we're tired of running around, that we said, let's just take it down, because no matter what, something's going to need to happen to fix it. So we can take it down. And then if we want to add a deck later, we can always do that post conversion. But right now, like, this just feels to be like a block that we're not going to get through.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
Yep.
So, but the last question I would ask, having gone through it all, would you go through it again? Would you do it again?
Oh, well, so for us, in our particular case, like, we had all moved into the building in 2013, I think, and so we were eligible under the expedited conversion process. We had to wait 6 years to become eligible for that. I would say if I was at 4 years, I would not bother. But where we were at, like, just having hit that 6 years, it was like, it made sense. I think the way it panned out with our sales price was, we came out about at the same sale that I would expect pre-COVID. If we had sold as a TIC pre-COVID, is kind of, I think, where we came out as a condo post-COVID. So we definitely would have taken more of a hit had we not gone through that process. And I think it also, it makes the sales process easier, because there's only 3 banks that'll do the fractional loan. And so I think that also like played a key part in getting a price that we were happy with.
Yeah, totally. So, but it was but to answer you maybe would do it again, or maybe not.
It would depend on where we are and like how long we have to wait to be eligible for it, because it took, all said and done, gosh, it feels like longer, but I think it was like, when we first started was, I think it was about 21 months, all said and done.
21
So
miles.
that's a while.
It's a process. It's a
Yeah.
and a lot of gates that have to be
Hmm.
traveled through and a
Hmm.
lot of paperwork. But you
Hmm.
did it, and
Yeah, and expense.
and
It's not
expense
cheap either. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not because with the surveys and all that kind of stuff. Just out of curiosity, would you say it ended up being, and that was a 3-unit building there? So
Hmm.
was it maybe 20K a unit in those kind of expenses, or maybe a bit more?
Hmm. It was more. Just the per unit fee was around 23,000.
Hmm.
But then there were a number of other building fees charged by the city, plus the work that we had to do on the building. I would say that probably for the building, for the 3-unit building, it was about 100,000
In
all
total.
said and done. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So good. That's fantastic info. And you are now in the warmth of Sacramento
Yeah.
and enjoying the. Have you? Do you AC? Is that something that
Oh yes.
is cranking a lot? So, uh, it's a
Yeah.
different world.
Yeah. We just had our first like minor heat wave, so we had 90+ degree temps for a couple of days in a row. Fortunately, today it's back down to like low 80s, so it's pretty nice today.
There you go. That's sweet. Well,
Yeah,
hey, Steve, it's so awesome. Thank you for talking to us about this today. I so
absolutely.
appreciate it, and we had a great time working with you. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.